Today's segment of Oh Brother is sponsored by Organic Harvest Market and Nutrition Center, Birmingham's largest family-owned natural foods market. Visit them on the web at www.orgharvest.com.
So southern, they'll get up for you for nothing. Take this.
Welcome into the Monday edition of Oh Brother. I'm Will Lochamy along with Reed Lochamy. We record at the Brandon Brown in the Country Western Delight Studios, and a new thing we're doing every Monday now, Reed, is we're going to tally up how many mistresses Tiger has this week. What are we at this week, Reed?
We are up to 11.
Wow.
Last time I heard.
11.
That is
and of
pretty
course,
exciting.
by the way, don't forget, we record this a couple of days early, so by the time this airs.
I went ahead and told the kids I was speaking to at one of the high schools this week, I told them if any of them were having an affair with Tiger, cut that out. Because statistically speaking, one of them probably was.
Well, and that's the thing is I would never assume my wife. I mean, we've got a very trusting relationship.
Right.
I would never assume anything.
But
chances are good she
the
has had an affair with Tiger.
The numbers are pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
Listen, Will, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is.
But what's even more exciting is what's coming up here this week on Oh Brother. Now, I'm not going to lie. We have had some marquee guests. We have had Eli Gold.
Yeah.
We have had Paul Feinbaum. I think this week's
Chopped
guest,
liver is what they are.
Yeah, this week's guest is going to be the biggest thing, not only it's ever happened to the show, but it's ever happened to me personally, I think.
Listen, I earlier, Reed, had to call these people and do just kind of the pre-whatever.
Yes.
And that was the most exciting thing I've ever done already. So I can't imagine how great the interview is going to be.
Well, for people who don't know yet, on Wednesday of this week for Show and Tell, we are having none other than Deanie from Dean & Company is going to be on the show doing a phone interview talking about the 2009 special. I have so many questions. I don't know there's no way we're going to cover them all.
No, and we've also we have access to Charles, so we got to be thinking of a couple of questions for him, too.
This is the best news I've ever heard.
Yeah.
All right, so, Will, that's coming
incredible.
up on Wednesday, but today, of course, is Monday, and every Monday we talk about something off of our to-discuss list, and today's topic is something that our guest last week, Jake Waitsman from Vulture Whale, happened to mention just sort of off the cuff, and, Will, I don't know how to describe this other than to say that you have become obsessed.
I don't know why. I don't even know why.
Yeah,
honestly.
but you have.
Yeah, he brought up this elf on the shelf, these magic elves that apparently families have. And Reed, as y'all were doing that, I was reading an email or something, and I was just kind of catching bits and pieces of it. And finally, I just stopped and said, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I'd never heard of it, but it's this thing that these families have. It's like a doll elf, right? And it comes with a book. The elf on the shelf at least does. Comes with a book where it tells this story of, hey, I'm a so-and-so elf, and I can't talk to you. I'm an elf. I'm assuming he talks like that. And I can't talk to you, and you can't touch me, but, I kind of watch over you or whatever.
Yes.
And the deal is, the kids have to be good.
They can't touch the elf?
Apparently not.
Teaches healthy boundaries.
Look, let's go ahead
also.
now and bring in Nick Daviston, our friend. He's your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
He's a member of the Brandon Brown and Country Western Delight, and he owns Davis Installation, which is incredible. Which is
a
our
sponsor of the show. Yeah.
So anyway, so Nick has two girls, 4 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you have an elf on the shelf.
Yeah, and I can't believe you guys don't have an elf on the shelf.
I actually, here's the weird thing. Will has a child. I do not, and yet I have an elf on the shelf.
Creepy.
Will, I know. Hey, listen, I don't know how to explain that. Nick, tell us about the elf on the
Well,
shelf.
I like to think that he talks more like Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. You remember from South Park?
Mr. Hank.
All right, that's how I envision.
I'm an elf.
Our okay, so the elf on the shelf is a
He watches over the kids
well,
and
he's an elf
reports.
that Santa sends to you.
Right.
Okay.
And you get your elf, and he comes with a book as well.
Right.
And this book you read to your children and explains to them about the elf and what
Okay.
the elf is and what the elf does. And the elf is there to watch them and make sure, see if they're naughty or nice, and report back to Santa, and then come back the next day. And he's either hidden in a new place or he's gotten into some mischief. And
This is the part I really like.
So he's like a spy elf.
yeah, he's a spy elf. He's a scout elf. As
Okay,
it's
like a
referred to.
narc. He's like a
Well,
narc.
yeah, he's
Sort of.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he hides in a place, and the kids have to find him. And you have to name your elf. You get the privilege of naming this elf when he comes to you because he hasn't had a name his entire life till he gets to you.
Now, Nick, I happened to learn earlier today, and I want you to tell us what the name of your elf is.
Well, you have to keep in mind that it was named by two 4-year-olds.
Oh, not
Okay.
you. You
No, I
personally
didn't.
didn't.
I did vote for this name, but it wasn't my idea.
I can't wait to hear what you voted against.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and ruin it. He voted for Mark Ingram is the name of the elf.
I voted against him.
All right, what's the name of the elf?
Sparkle Dust.
Sparkle Dust. And he's got a last name.
Daviston.
Daviston.
Well, he's part of our family now.
Sparkle Dust
Sparkle
Daviston.
Dust Daviston.
Yeah.
And
so were the kids immediately, when you started telling them, how are they reacting to the elf?
Well, at first sight, we kept it in the box. I said, now when we open it, you can't touch the elf. And it explains that in the book,
What is the no touching of the
Well,
elf?
look, if you touch the elf, it loses its magic. And it tells you that in the book. Did you not read your book? Did you not read your book?
I've not even got I have no children. We already explained this. Yeah.
Well, but if you read the book, it tells you can't touch the elf.
Why is that, though? I wonder?
It loses its magic
I
powers. I
understand
just said that.
Let's move on. It loses
Okay, let's
its
just
magic.
move on. Let's just move on.
And but also he can't talk to you. Santa.
Okay.
That's written in Santa's laws. The elf explains to you in the book. He can't talk to you.
Cannot talk.
So anyhow, as we're telling the kids and reading the story about the elf, their eyes got kind of big, and one of the kids kind of was sitting with her feet kind of close to the book, and she kind of pulled her feet back.
You don't want to ruin that. Don't want to ruin that magic.
And
I think kind of scared.
And they were looking at me and said, "Is he real? He looks pretend. Is he really real?" And of course, he's really real.
Sure,
if you
yeah.
believe he's real, he's real. So
That's right.
So we closed up the box, and I said, when you go to sleep, I'll open the box and let him out. And so the next morning, he was out, and he had hidden
He's out.
up on top of one of our surround sound speakers.
I saw
is
that on
awesome,
Facebook.
yeah.
And
And
he's
then-
made it onto Facebook.
And
yeah.
one of the children was pretty scared, right?
Well, yeah, Bella found the elf who was on a speaker,
Sparkle
not
Dust.
a shelf, but
Sparkle Dust.
Yeah,
knows.
let's just go and
Sparkle
Sparkle
Dust
Davidson.
Daviston. And was terrified. I mean, just broke down in tears, ran the other direction.
It's a great thing
and
for
called,
children.
And called me on the phone. Well, she didn't call me. My wife called me and said, "You've got to take the elf down. The elf is going to have to go back to Santa Claus because the children are terrified."
But you still have the elf. And,
well, since then they've gotten okay with the elf, and he's part
okay,
of the
but
family.
part of it, so it goes
Okay.
back to Santa and reports every night if
Yeah.
the if the kids have been good or bad or whatever, right?
Right.
But then also there's another elf very similar to this called the elf magic. The
Now,
magic
this is what
elf
we
or
hear.
whatever.
We don't know for sure. Yeah,
I just
that's
looked
mine.
it up.
Oh,
I just
okay,
looked it
okay.
up.
There's
Yeah,
a magic elf.
Yeah, and he does a similar thing, it appears, but also gets into a lot of mischief. So the people that have the elf
Okay.
on the shelf have kind of adopted that idea. And
Yes.
so anyway, these elves get into trouble. So you'll do things like, knock over a box of cereal and have the cereal
That's
spill
right.
out. And when they wake up, the elf is there with the cereal.
And frozen in time. So I guess
like he got into mischief, and then it was time to.
Now,
yeah.
Will, this is funny because this brings up a coworker of mine. I guess has one of these magic elves, not the
Right, okay.
elf on a shelf. And she was telling me this is pretty creative. Apparently, she and her husband, what they did was one night they went and moved their car out of the driveway into their yard and parked it up against a tree, like the front of the car
Right.
against a tree, making it appear as if the car had bumped into the tree.
This
and
was the Tiger Woods elf.
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
This is he and Elan's elf.
and had the elf perched with its hands on the steering wheel, certainly making it look like the elf had driven the car into the tree. It's pretty creative.
And actually, I looked up Elf on the Shelf ideas or whatever. I googled
Yes.
that, and there is a website that has 10 different
Yeah.
whatever.
What's the best
and
one you
that's
saw?
that's one of them.
yeah.
That's one of them is to move
Well-
your car and have it. But most of it's like spill something, or have him hidden somewhere he's not supposed, getting into the dirty dishes or something. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Sparkle Dust has gotten into the cookies.
Oh,
see,
okay.
he's
So
hungry.
sweet tooth he has.
Yeah.
He ate an oatmeal cookie one.
Now, and
Lila's too young, by the way, this year. That's the only reason
Yeah.
I don't have one of these. Next year, you better believe I got an elf.
you're
on
gonna
the
have
shelf.
one of
Oh,
these. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Nick, let's just real quickly get on the record here. What is, because Will and I have had arguments before. We don't have much time, but I just want to get your opinion on this. My problem with Santa Claus and all these things, obviously, all these things are magical and great.